A quarterback I wouldn't want to trade for Geno is Jordan Love, who's been playing at an incredible rate here, bro. I mean, he easily looks like a top five guy. But Jordan Love, man, has got this offense humming. He's a top 10 quarterback on the season, and he missed 3 games. Was it 3 games he did? So I think when we look at Jordan Love, man, what he's bringing to this Packer offense, obviously a good win over the Texans and a little back and forth there with Stephon Diggs and Jair Alexander. But to me, the story of this game was, obviously like Josh Jacobs got going. And we see, we didn't really need Jaden Reed, who had been phenomenal throughout the start of the year. We didn't really need him because Romeo Dobbs stepped up. And it's like the offense with Jordan Love is elite and really has a
Mhm.
lot of like top 12 options here for the Packers. Like we can go through the positions. There's a lot of good options. Do you think this offense stays like this? Do you think Jordan Love is able to keep up this pace and he's an elite guy? Do you think he settles down somewhere into that range we just talked about with like the Burrows, the Dax, where he was drafted at? Or do you think we now have an elite quarterback who's going to carry an elite offense?
I think so. The league guys, in my opinion, the league guys I just view as like your mobile quarterbacks, right? So that's the elite tier. I would say I don't think he can get in. I don't think he'll be in that tier with like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, those kind of guys, just because they offer that rushing upside that Jordan Love doesn't. But I do think that he can be in that next tier, the Joe Burrow tier, the CJ Stroud tier of type of guys, your pocket passing quarterbacks. Because really, since the second half of last year, when this offense actually got healthy and even into the playoffs, he's been fantastic. Like he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, not just in fantasy football, in
Yes.
terms of like real life football. He's been excellent. I was trying to look up his big time throws. I don't have it up right now. But he's been fantastic. So and the other thing too is there's just so many this team in general is just so young, and they have a lot of very good young talent, especially at your wide receiver position, your tight end position, where I don't even think that these guys have fully reached their potential, and they're also getting better. And the wide receiver position is like this rotation as well, that they continue to rotate these guys in and out. Jordan Love was banged up, so I don't even think it's at its full potential yet, that it could potentially even get a little bit better. So, absolutely, I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and should be viewed that way. I would say near borderline elite in fantasy football.
The thing is, you mentioned the rushing quarterbacks, right? Like, so we talking about Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. I think that's the clear
Yeah,
four
the
that you're
4.
talking
Yeah.
about when it comes to mobile. But like Jordan Love on a per game basis right now is right up there with all of them. And it's because of the touchdowns. Like he
Mhm.
continues to throw touchdowns at an elite rate. And I think that was his upside last year. Like earlier in the year when he first became the starter, he was going like he was really up and down. And then from like week 10, week 11 on, I want to say he was like the QB2, like right behind Dak Prescott as like the QB2. So I think that Jordan Love is like kind of one of those assets where like maybe we undervalue, like we still haven't got to the world where we view Jordan Love as basically Patrick Mahomes. Like that's to me
Yeah.
that's almost what he is in this offense because it's not like he doesn't have the star receiver. If Jaden Reed was considered to be Tyreek Hill, or if he was considered to be Justin Jefferson, I think we'd be looking at Jordan Love a little bit differently. If it was Stephon Diggs out there and Nico Collins, we'd be like, oh shit, Jordan Love is like, he's him. But because he doesn't have the names, because it's Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, Romeo, we're not viewing him the same way. Jordan Love is probably going to be a top five quarterback the rest of the way. And I would say he offers a little bit more stability than even some of your other rushing quarterbacks, than your Lamar, Jaden Daniels, who just got hurt. He offers a little bit more stability. He's already been hurt too. That gives you a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like most of the time, players, quarterbacks at least, don't get multiple injuries in the same season. So I don't know. I think he just makes this whole offense go. I really love, no pun intended, I love getting Jordan Love as your starter. And right now, if you have him, don't think this is a window to be like, oh man, let me trade off Jordan Love. Like, keep Jordan Love as a top elite asset, in my opinion. I just don't see a world where he doesn't, and it's helping out the rest of this offense too.
Yeah. The offense looks good.
You look at Josh Jacobs. Like Josh Jacobs was a player that we I mean, I was kind of questioning because I was like, "Yo, this is time to buy low on Josh." I was kind of questioning Josh Jacobs, and
Mhm.
then he comes out and has the game that we were looking for. He had 76 yards, a bunch of catches in the passing game. It wasn't a huge game, but it was like a sign of life from a guy that was. I mean, he was a back end RB2 at best. You think
Yeah.
he bounces back here in the second half, or you kind of avoiding
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs?
No, absolutely. I would continue to buy. I think this is a guy who can be a back end RB1 for the rest of the way. There's just the volume's been there, his snap percentage, his route participation, everything's been there. It's the touchdowns, which we know touchdowns are fluky, but this is with Jordan Love, this is one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I really do think that the touchdowns will come. And usually when we've seen this, you see this a lot. Now, sometimes it doesn't actually happen, and he just doesn't. It's a down year in terms of touchdown production. But a lot of times you see this thing correct itself, and when it corrects itself, it's a lot of touchdowns in bunches. So he could be at the second half of the season. He could be a top 5 running back for the second half of the year just because those touchdowns really pile up. That I really do think that this is all he needs. It's just the touchdown production, and because everything else is there. He's borderline, I would say, elite usage. It's just the touchdowns haven't
And it's
came.
good to see like Jordan Love will throw him the football too. Like
Yeah,
he was getting
and
some
first
targets.
touchdown reception in his
In
career,
his
which is
career. That's
crazy.
crazy, ain't it?
Yeah.
I got a feeling it won't be the last this year too. Like,
Well, Jordan Love,
and
even in the beginning of the year, he said it too. Jordan Love said, "I'm going to get him his first touchdown reception this year." So they made it a conscious effort, and I just think Josh Jacobs. We know how good he is. He's a good running back playing on an elite offense. I would still be buying low because I don't think people truly understand the upside that he possesses, in my
well, in the
opinion.
Packers in the second half, when I mention this a lot, and maybe this is a
Weather,
topic.
yes,
Yeah, the weather it gets colder, like, and you got those NFC North opponents where things get colder when you go play Chicago. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's like you have to factor that in. It's cold in Green Bay. It snows, and that's
yeah,
what you do. You run the football, and when football gets a little tighter in those in those conferences, in those divisions where weather becomes an issue, you got to start running the football. That's why you go sign Josh Jacobs for 4 years.
hmm
So I definitely think there's an arc here where Josh Jacobs, you talked about top 5 finish. If we looked at like week 11 to week
yeah,
17 and we
exactly.
talked about Josh Jacobs on a per game
We could
average
be
as top
top
5,
5.
I think you're right.
Absolutely. I can foresee that.